We mentioned in the previous recording that Rebbe Akiva responds to Tornos Rufus' question. If Hashem wanted mankind to be mahul, to be circumcised, then why does Hashem make us circumcise ourselves? Or why are we created with the orla that we have to cut off ourselves? And Rebbe Akiva responds that no. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created us to try to fix and complete creation, that we have to finish the job. It's on us to complete the HaKadosh Baruch Hu's work. So says Siach Yitzchak, this is in the Hidabrut from Rav Yitzchak Tazria. I was actually thinking about this myself as well, that's actually not so clear in the sources that originally HaKadosh Baruch Hu had created a world for us to fix it. We're partners in creation. Now, we did mention a couple of years ago that there is the opinion of Manitu, that Manitu does say that originally Hashem created a world, an olam chaser. The world was initially created not 100%, and that's why the world was created tohu vavohu, that the original creation of the world was not perfect, and now our job is to perfect the world. But in other writings and other understandings, the world actually was created perfect. It actually was created in this level. The Garden of Eden was this almost this paradise that was almost where we're supposed to be, because says this Siach Yitzchak that Adam was created mahul. He was created already circumcised. So the truth is, Adam didn't have to circumcise himself. It's only after the chet of Adam Rishon, after Adam and Chava, they ate from the Etz Hadat. So then he brings down over here that this led to the Tumat Nidah. This leads to the Orla in future generations. Actually, we mentioned a couple of years ago that Kabbalistically, part of the sin of Adam Rishon was known as Moshech Ba'orlato, that even though he was born mahul, he was trying to cover it in some kind of mystical sense with heresy and stuff like that. Also, we had mentioned in the past from the Nar Yotzeh Me'eden that we saw from Chazal that originally in the Garden of Eden, the trees had bread growing. They had loaves of bread, this beautiful French bread and lafas. Everything was already ready made, and it was only after the curse, after the sin, that the bread became grains, became asabim, became these kernels. And when Rebbe Akiva shows Tornos Rufus, on one hand he has kernels, on one hand he has bread. Which one is greater? So he shows you, mankind, Basar Badam is greater because of the bread that we make. But if to realize that originally before the sin, bread already grew on trees. And he says over here in the Siach Yitzchak, we also mentioned it last year, that part of Chazal seemed to be that the whole concept of the Orla only took place, that in future generations we have to do a circumcision because of the Chet of Adam Rishon, and actually we're going to find tzaddikim throughout the generations, like Moshe Rabbeinu, who was born already mahul, that light was already in the room, and that also explains that the Orla, we actually mentioned from the Shirei Pinchas that it was that was a piece of the Nachash, that's part of the skin of the Nachash. The ore of the Nachash is the ore with an ayin as opposed to the ore with an olive that our skin was originally, and therefore we have to remove that part of the dinim. So he writes over here, interestingly enough, that's also why there's the metzitza with the wine, that when the mohel has to do metzitza b'peh, you're taking out the blood with the wine, the yain is din, the orla is din. We're trying to fix the chet, we're trying to get rid of the orla, which is the snake skin. That's also why we're burying it in the ground, in the afar, because the afar is the food of the nachash, of the nachash, afar lachmo. The ground that's the area of the nachash, that's where he lives, that's where he's scurrying, that's what he's eating, and therefore you give him the orla, because that's you're giving the skin back to the snake. But you see this concept that originally the world was more metukan, God had a different plan. It's only after Rebbe Akiva's arguments to Tornos Rufus of what is man, what is our job, what does God create us for, it's really more of a post-sin kind of understanding. But again, if we go back to the teaching of Manitu, who says that originally HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world tohu vavohu, then you see that maybe there were some deeper ideas even before the creation of man that also spoke about making tikkunim. Shabbat Shalom.